Hey everybody, this is Oscar from Side Hustle Playbook. In this video, we're going to talk about a new side hustle that I just started trying out, Fiverr. So if you're into creating things or if you have some type of technical skill, this might be a good side hustle for you to look at. So stick around and watch this video to learn more. Well, thanks for joining me today as we look at this new side hustle that I started. It started a couple months ago, was just looking for other ways to try and generate another stream of income. One thing that I'll always talk about is trying to have multiple streams. And in the past, I did take a couple classes at a community college for a job that, they basically needed somebody to do some design stuff. I volunteered and they paid for me to take some courses and wasn't something that I do professionally since then. But I thought, let me see, what we can do. I do design t-shirts, t-shirt designs for myself for another side hustle that we'll talk about later, for the print-on-demand stuff. And we'll definitely do some videos on that to see what we do there. So I thought maybe, there'd be other people that would want to buy either some of my designs or design services. As well as, I could do logos and simple things like that. So went ahead to Fiverr. As you can see here, there's all sorts of things that you can purchase here, whether you're purchasing for your own business, if you need some type of service that you need for a website, or again, if you want t-shirt designs, you can go on here and, get stuff pretty reasonably priced. Their big thing is that you can start at $5. So they highly recommend as a seller that you start, you give something at that $5 price point, and then you can go from there. I was kind of hesitant. I've heard a lot of back and forth. Some people enjoy Fiverr and get good quality things from it, and other people that I've talked to despise it. Think that there's a lot of folks using like clip art, stuff that they're not supposed to use or not designing it themselves. So kind of taking both of those into account, I decided that this might be a good opportunity for me. I can kind of go in and, provide good, honest work and see what happens. And hopefully with enough traction, might get more and more work because of the reputation and the work that I provide. So that's kind of where I was going at with it, knowing that, it could give me $0 or it could be more of a headache. So I was willing to try it. So for anybody that's not familiar, you go to Fiverr.com, and this is basically their main landing page that you'll see. And from here, you could hit the become a seller on the top right if it's something that you want to sell. But look, if you look at some of the types of services that people are providing, there's logo design. If you know how to do a WordPress site, people will pay you for that. Voiceover, if you're somebody that has a nice voice or a deep voice that can be used for all sorts of things. As an example, I've used voiceovers for a voicemail system, basically at the auto attendant voice. So I gave them a script, they recorded it for me, and that's kind of how I first got into Fiverr and learning a little bit about them. But there's all sorts of different things that you can do. Social media, if you want to pay somebody to do social media stuff, book covers, illustrations. It's a pretty good list of things. And there's other services, freelancer.com. Is it Upworthy? I think is another one that's very popular. But Fiverr has always been that one where you can get something for $5. So it might not be 100% everything that you need, and that's where we'll talk about, but that's where you add the services and things like that. So, you get a lot of traffic, a lot of folks visit this site, a lot of small business owners or people that are just, kind of doing things on their own. So there's a lot of folks here that you can provide your services to and go from there. Once you decide to sell, this is kind of where you start. You kind of what is your skill set, and then from there it'll basically help you create gigs. As you can see, they're always looking for that $5, up to $10,000 range, depending on what you're doing. So when I first started this, my kind of game plan was I'm going to start with, t-shirt designs, and I was doing, I think, t-shirt designs for $5, right? But I made them very, basic designs, either single color, text only for $5. And then for $10, you can do, whether it be a multiple color, throw in, a graphic, that type of thing. And then for like $20, it's more of a high end, with graphics, things like that. The way I set up my, anytime you're doing any type of graphics or any type of work like this for somebody, the main thing is revisions. How many changes can somebody do? So that's where I kind of had to learn the hard way. Early on, I set up just unlimited revisions, so a $5 design, the person was changing their mind like 10 times. That's a lot of work for $5. So at the $5, I offer very limited revisions, maybe one or two. And then as you go up in price, though, I'm going to give you more revisions. And for larger projects where it's a higher ticket price, then I'll usually do unlimited, because it might take us a while, especially if I'm doing like illustrations, to you're trying to come up with the, and meet the needs of what their idea is. So it can get a little bit tricky there, but that's one of the learning points that I had to make, was understanding the revisions and what to give for $5, what's reasonable. Because even if it takes me an hour, that's only $5 an hour, right? So it has to be something that I can do quick, something that I can produce really fast, and but still be good quality. And that's kind of was my goal. I was going to do good quality, things that I would put on my shirts that I would sell. Or if I did a logo for somebody, same type of thing, something that I thought looked nice. I didn't do clip art. Everything was stuff that I just made myself and was custom. So we'll go into some of my analytics right now. So let's see here. Like I said, I've only been at it for about a few months, but you'll see that overall my net income is $522. I've withdrawn 510 of it. I still have $12 clearing. So one of the things that you'll find out is they take 20% of whatever you make. So if you make something for $5, they're going to take $1. That is Fiverr takes $1. From there, you can get tipped, and sometimes when you get tipped, it could be a few bucks. It can be a nice tip that you'll get. So for that though, and I think not necessarily a complaint, but yeah, it is a little bit, right? But for that, if that you get tipped, Fiverr gets a cut of that as well. So that is a little bit of a bummer, but I guess you can call it a transaction fee. But you would think, since you're getting tipped and there's no additional work on there, that you would get it completely or 100%. But I can also see that you wouldn't get that money if you weren't on their platform, right? So it's one of those things that you just kind of, go with and understand that it is what it is. So if we look at the analytics of what I've done, so like I said before, we're talking about the majority of every listing or every gig, as they call it, that I have is at a $5 start point. But you can see that of the $522 that I've made, I've done 27 orders. With the average selling price, though, if you look at that, it's at $26. September is $8. I have another one that I'm trying to complete right now. That's a pretty good size number for September, but September started off a little bit slow. But you can see the nice thing, the average selling price is around $26. So while I have those $5 gigs or starting points, I've made, and it's taken me a little bit of trial and error. I've made enough, or give enough enhancements or bonuses to go up to the next level rather than just get the $5 gig. And as far as learning, that is one thing that I learned. Initially, I went with a $5, $10, $20, something like that, right? And when I started getting some good sales, I said, okay, let me move up my $5 one to $10, and then I'll make the next one 15 and 20 or so, or 25. And that did not work very well. From there, at that point, I noticed my sales went, pretty much spiked down, didn't get anything for a while. So what I found is definitely have the $5 be your base, because that's how everybody else is out there is pretty much listing stuff at. And that's going to get you, at least that view that you need from folks as they're looking for different things that they might need. And then but make it something that you can do quickly. It's something that it's almost like you're almost proving yourself to that person that you can do the work, that you're not going to give them crap. Because at the end of the day, I think that's one of the issues that Fiverr does have. There's a lot of folks that will provide, not the best stuff. They'll use clip art or stolen images from Google, things like that. So for me, it was, that $5 mark is almost like a proof of concept type thing. And I found that a handful of folks have come back and gotten a better, or more higher price gig after they did the $5 one. I have one that's done like 4 or 5 orders with me of those 27. So, but it's one of those things where I've given them good work every single time. But each time now they've went from a $5 design, and now they constantly, do, either the $10 or a $20 design. Where, depending on what they need, because they might not always need an illustration or some type of graphic in the t-shirt design. So those are some of the things that I learned. Is definitely keeping that $5 low point in there, but also not making it where I have a lot of revisions. Because one of my first experiences where I found that I felt I might have made a mistake was just one of my first folks that I worked with, just going back and forth. They were very vague in what they were looking for, and I just couldn't hit it. It was, so it took me a few revisions to get there. And at that time I gave I just went, I'm just going to give unlimited revisions. I'm sure we'll do it in 2 to 3 max. And this one went quite a bit. So I learned my lesson there. And what I looked at was the finished product, which one, the one that they were finally happy with. But there were many in there that were very similar that I think they would have accepted if the revision number, like if they would have known, okay, I get 5 tries at this, or we get 10 tries at this, and then that's it. So, so for my $5 one, I give 2 to 3 revisions max, depending on what type of design or gig it is. If it's a logo, I might give a little bit more, like 3 to 5. But usually 3 is the max, and that seems to work pretty well. We usually get, I think, a lot of the $5 ones I've been hitting right on the mark early on, where it's just, here it is, boom, they take it. Because I think I'm exceeding their expectations on what they would expect to get for $5, so they're very happy with it. The other thing, or another tip, if you do decide to do any type of thing on Fiverr, would be in your gigs, be very descriptive of what you're going to give them, very detailed, so that they understand 100% what they're going to get. I also do a questionnaire once they purchase a gig that has very specific questions on what they're looking for, designs that they like, what their end goal is, colors, things like that. Early on, I had like 1 or 2 questions, and I've kind of put that out to about 5 to 6 questions now. And at the end of the day, and I always ask them to please fill it out, because at the end of the day, it's going to give me more information to what they're looking to get out of it, what they're looking for, what their vision is for this thing. And that's the toughest part, not being a graphic designer by trade. I haven't had this experience for a long time with working with people trying to get their designs. When I did the graphic designing years back, it was for a specific company that I worked for. So I kind of already knew their vision, I already knew what they were going for. So it was very easy to create stuff for them. And like I said, they paid for me to go to school to learn it. But doing it with like a freelance, and where you're trying to, you're not talking to them on the phone, you're not seeing them in person, it's all via chatting. It makes it a little bit difficult to try to get that vision that they're looking for. So being very descriptive with your questions is good, and it's going to give you a lot of feedback. Hopefully that will help you finish out this design. That is not one thing about Fiverr. Freelancer does the same type of thing, where you do have like a dashboard. So basically you're going to get the order, it's going to come in, and from there you're working with your client, asking questions, sending them samples, things like that, and then you submit it. They get 3 days to approve, or they can ask for a revision if you've given them revision. And the other thing you can do is provide source files and things like that. So anyways, let's go back to the analytics. So, $522 total. Average selling price is $26, which to me is good, especially for the time I've put into it. I'm probably averaging about a half hour to an hour per, gig that I do, or job that I do. So 26 bucks per hour is not bad. I'll definitely take that all day long. And this is your metrics where you want to stay, just like eBay, just like any of the other services that you might use to sell or do things. You always want to have a good track record. So here you can see, like, I'm just started, so I'm trying to become a level 1 seller. So we're still going, but you can see that my response rate, I always respond to people. Order completion, we always complete it. On-time delivery, we try to hit on-time delivery all the time. I've never been late. And the nice thing is, say you do a design, you submit it on time, but then they come back with a revision and it may be extended past that. They say it was a 3-day job, or you promised delivery in 3 days. They will count it as on time as long as you deliver it. And then if they ask for a revision, that you're getting them that revision within a reasonable time. And I think it's every less than 24 hours. As long as you're hitting those numbers, they consider it on time because they understand that there's revisions that are being done. Rating, my ratings are good. I think right now I'm at a 4.9. So it's funny. I think the one that I got that was a little low. Or not low, but it was like, rather than being a 5, it was like a 4 or 4.5 or something like that. Everything they gave me, it was great. I love the design, did this, did that, but here's a 4.5. And it's like, you get it on eBay too. You just never know. It's like sometimes it's like almost like, they can't give you a perfect score for whatever reason. But anyways, so we've made hit the earnings over 400 bucks. Days without warning, not having any terms of service issues, things like that is good. So overall, I would say my experience with Fiverr has been pretty good. Again, definitely learning and what not to do, and making sure also my delivery times. Another thing that if you do decide to look at selling here on Fiverr is make sure you over promise. Or what is it? Under promise, over deliver. You don't want to promise things done in 3 days if you're going to be pushing it to the limit every single time, because being late does hurt your track record. So if something I know is going to take me 3 days, I put 4 days just to give me in case of, because they do count weekends as days. So there are times, I think even for like some things like logos, I might even put 5 days. And the reason for that is if I get the order on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, I may or may not be doing anything with it. I might, if there's stuff going on with the family, I might not have time. So I went to 5 days. And I kind of have to adjust that from time to time. There's times where it feels like maybe that might be hurting. So I try to see what other people are doing it for, and I try to stay within that. But at the same time, it is much better to get orders from folks that understand that you're going to be say 5 days, and then you get it to them in 3, or you get it to them in 2. They're going to be much happier rather than saying 3 days and you get it to them in 5. So be careful with your times, especially for the developers. I'm sure that's going to be a little bit longer. I haven't dabbled, even though I know WordPress pretty well. I haven't dabbled into any of the website stuff. Just don't want to overextend myself on there. But if anyone else out there has checking out Fiverr or done anything on Freelancer or Upwork, definitely let me know. Comment below. And like I said, I'll keep you guys posted on how this does for me. I think 522 bucks isn't great, but at the same time, it's extra income. And like I always say, if you have multiple streams, the best thing is if one goes a little dry, the other ones can kind of make up for it in its place. And then you never know, one might explode for you and you make a ton of money and you're all happy. So anyways, we'll keep going on in our journey here on Side Hustle Playbook. Be sure to visit us, sidehustleplaybook.biz. We'll be doing some print-on-demand stuff, merch by Amazon, Shopify, as well as Etsy in the near future. So stick around for those videos, and be sure to click the like and subscribe button below. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye now.